Good evening, everyone. Could you please take your seats? First of all of you that are in here right now that showed up, I want you to give yourselves a round of applause. I am so honored and humble that all of you decided to take time out of your busy schedule to come and see these esteemed law enforcement executives talk about a very, very important subject matter. So give our law enforcement executives a round of applause. Well, this man needs no introduction if you live in the city of Southfield. Our mayor, Ken Cyber, has lived in this city for almost 60 years. He has spent many, many years on city council, and he is currently our mayor, and he's been the mayor for probably about 8 years, Mr. Mayor? 10 years. So let me introduce our very own esteemed, awesome, amazing mayor, Dr. Ken Cyber.
Thank you, Pam. Well, good afternoon, good evening. The heat dome is here. We were warned earlier this week that it was coming, so make sure you stay hydrated, drink lots of water. But I'm here to give you a welcome to the great city of Southfield and this distinguished panel to my right. This is a continuing series of information forums that we've done, the city has hosted with our neighboring cities, Oak Park, Farmington Hills, and Oakland County Sheriff's Office. So we're very, very pleased to continue these information series. One of the, probably the most significant, guess I'm searching for the best way to, I'll use sad, to describe that almost every day in the city of Southfield, we have an incident of domestic violence. We are very serious about educating the public, and one of our former programs was on domestic violence. We are having a walk to alert, bring awareness to domestic violence again. I believe it's October 2nd? 5th. Okay, October 5th. Please join us. And so one of the reasons that we're here tonight is that many times domestic violence stems out of substance abuse, stems out of alcoholism and narcotics and so on. So this is it's an overlapping topic that we're addressing in the city of Southfield and our neighborhoods addressing. This is something obviously that no one city can do alone. And so we're very grateful that we're joining forces with our neighbors. So again, thank you to Pamela Gerald for all her work in publicizing and organizing this event. And again, to our police executives who are here before us to discuss this. Thank you very much.
The mayor told you the name that's on my driver's license, but I have been called PG ever since I was in elementary school. So when someone calls and asks for my name, I think they're a telemarketer. Okay, Miss Ronnie Dahl is a former investigative journalist turned licensed professional investigator, celebrated for her fearless, document-driven reporting, and unwavering commitment to public accountability. Over more than a decade in newsrooms across Detroit, from WJBK to WXYZ Channel 7, she earned a reputation for sharp investigations that exposed corrupt politicians, uncovered secret severance deals, spotlighted broken city systems, and motivated legislative action, including reforms to Michigan squatters laws and funding for the first responder cancer presumption bill. Today, as a licensed private investigator in Michigan, she continues to tackle complex cases with the same tenacity and public records expertise that defined her journalism career, advocating, for justice, accountability, and transparency in every case she handles. So without further ado, let me introduce you to my friend, Miss Ronnie Dahl.
Who knew all those years ago when I did a story with them, I'd still be up here fighting for PG and the Silver Fox. So thank you for continuing to have me back. I'm telling you, I recently became on our local city council in Keego Harbor, and I wish I had residents like them in my community. They are such an attribute and for the entire community and everything that they do. So let's give them a round of applause for all the work that it took to put this together. So thank you for having me. As she said, I'm now a licensed private investigator, which is pretty similar to being a reporter as well. And so we see the devastation that these drugs are having on all of our families. We're going to hear a lot about statistics tonight, but you have to remember behind every one of those numbers is a family that is directly impacted. And it's not just the individual, it's their mothers, their kids, their cousins, their aunts. It impacts the entire family and can be so devastating. That's why this is an amazing event to bring people together so that we can all tackle this problem, because I'm going to tell you, these drugs, they have no boundaries, and that's what's so great about having so many different law enforcement agencies up here together, because it doesn't stop at the border of Southfield or Farmington Hills or Detroit. It crosses all boundaries. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Chief Barron, who is going to really be the master of the ceremonies tonight. I'm just here on the sidelines to help as needed. Chief?
And thank you, Ronnie. Certainly, thank you all for being here. Thank you. Well, I want to start off by really opening up your eyes to why we're here. This is a national crisis. The mayor talked about domestic violence, but the other national crisis is synthetic drug use. And when we dive into it, you're talking about over 48.5 million Americans last year were discovered to be addicted to some type of substance. What that equates to through the synthetic drug use is death. 2024, over 80,000 Americans died from overdose. 2023, over 110,000. These numbers are staggering. When you look at the statistics, a deeper dive, 70% of the individuals who died were due to synthetic drug use. So that's why we're here, because our children are also incorporated in these numbers. The City of Southfield and the Southfield Police Department, along with other organizations, we partner with our community-based organizations. We have Face Addiction Now. Anytime there's a non-fatal overdose in our city, we respond with Face Addiction Now within 24 hours of that overdose episode to offer resources and a path towards recovery for that individual and their families. If it's discovered that that individual is not a resident of Southfield, we farm that to the city of occurrence, and then Face Addiction Now, will partner with those agencies to do the same thing, offer that path towards recovery. That's why this is important. Many people don't know about these resources. We have to, as a community, eliminate the stigma that goes along with this disease. And yes, it's a disease. These synthetic drugs are manufactured in these laboratories. They're unregulated. As a result, these toxins are going into our community, which have significant impacts on the human body. You see the stories play out nationally. Paranoia, crimes committed. Hallucinations, crimes committed. Overdoses. And so that's why we're here. So I just wanted to open your eyes up, and now I'm going to go into an introduction of who you all see up here. These law enforcement executives from across Southeast Michigan are here to help us educate the community and then offer resources. And we'll start down at the end, Farmington Hills.
Hello, my name is John Piggott. I'm the chief of the City of Farmington Hills Police Department. And I will just start this off because we had a pretty traumatic incident in our city today. I don't know if many of you have caught the news, but unfortunately a work crew that was involved with the road commission in Oakland County, we had a work crew that was struck by a passenger vehicle, which killed one of their members. And 2 others are in very dire condition at the hospital. So I would put out, if you guys believe in thoughts and prayers, I would ask you to pray for those men who are out there doing their job today and got sideswiped and injured terribly today. So just feel like we should start with that. Secondly, like the chief said, this is an important topic for us to talk about. I would say that one of the issues that I think we start with is that many a times people don't deal with the realities of the drug abuse until it's already a crime and you're having to call the police. And I think one of the important things for us to do here is to recognize what the drug addictions are, what we can look for, and how can we resolve those things and get resources to people before it's a crime and law enforcement has to step in. So I think that's a good point for us to talk about, what it is that we see, what resources are available, and hope that getting that information out helps us to help our residents, our citizens, before they're facing criminal charges or worse. So, thank you.
Thank you. Colonel?
Good evening, everyone. I'm Colonel James F. Grady II. I am the Director of the Michigan State Police. It's wonderful to be here tonight. I am honored to have been invited to have this discussion. It's a very important discussion for us to have, and hopefully we can provide some education to you as well. I don't want to talk long because I know the chief has to introduce everybody else, and we'll come back to me where I have some great talking points for you. But thank you for having me here tonight.
Thank you, Colonel. My good friend Steve Cooper, Director of Oak Park.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Steve Cooper. I'm the Director of Public Safety for the Police and Fire Department for the City of Oak Park. It's always an honor to be here in the city of Southfield. And as Chief Barron and all of my other colleagues have stated, this is an absolutely critical topic that we need to discuss this evening. And as Ronnie Dahl also said, the addiction, the synthetic drugs, they know no boundaries, and they definitely do not discriminate. So all ages, it goes across all socio-economic facets of life. So it's great to be here. Hopefully we'll have a great conversation, and thank you again.
Then we have our undersheriff from Oakland County.
Hello, everyone. My name is Timothy Willis. I'm the undersheriff here at Oakland County. I want to thank Chief Barron for inviting me here today. I think what you're going to learn with talking about synthetic drugs and then as we transition into human trafficking and these things is that, while the police, we're doing what we can, it's going to take the community. That's why I'm so thankful that you all are here. The community is such an integral part in this. We used to, traditional police thinking is we could just handle it. We're the cops, we can handle it. That is not true. We need all of you, we need your partnership, and I'm grateful to be here to help, start bridging that. So thank you very much.
And thank you, Undersheriff. So before I bring up our next speaker, the Colonel, I want to also remind you that this conversation is even broader than synthetic drugs. We're going to talk about human trafficking as well. Just today, the Southfield Department charged through the Oakland County Prosecutor's Office another individual in our city. He came all the way from Texas to traffic a young lady. He should have paid attention to the news because we just showed how we deal with human traffickers in Southfield. And I'm going to bring up a detective who is involved with the Southfield Police Department's Human Trafficking Task Force to share some enlightening information a little bit later on. But I wanted to let you know it's going to be a broad conversation because you know the human traffickers use synthetic drugs and other to control their victims. Another reason why this is important. So more to come. But let me start off by, again, going back to our colonel leading the Michigan State Police. Took his time to be here. Colonel James F. Grady II is the 20th director of the state of Michigan Police. As director, Colonel Grady also serves as state director of emergency management and as Michigan's Homeland Security Division director. In 1998, Colonel Grady joined the Michigan State Police as a trooper, serving at the former Adrian and Detroit post. That's where I met him. He was promoted to detective and supervisor at the post level. In 2015, Colonel Grady was promoted to detective, first lieutenant, and section commander of the fraud investigations teams, where he was responsible for the coordination of investigations to protect the citizens of Michigan from fraud. 2018, Colonel Grady was promoted to assistant division commander within the Emergency Management and Homeland Security Division, making him responsible for day-to-day management of all programs and activities within the division. In his role, he also served as a liaison to the governor's office, Federal Emergency Management Agency, and the Department of Homeland Security. In 2020, Colonel Grady was promoted to captain and became the commander of the Michigan State Police Training Division, where he worked to modernize the police training program and develop a well-rounded and highly trained troopers. Colonel Grady holds a bachelor's degree in criminal justice and criminology from Eastern Michigan University and graduated with a master's of business administration degree from Clary University, October 2024. Give this man a round of applause. Colonel.
Thank you, Chief Barron. And again, great to see everyone here tonight. I truly want to commend the city of Southfield for organizing this event. It, of course, seeks to educate the residents here about the dangers of synthetic drugs, particularly fentanyl. And I know everyone knows about fentanyl. As you heard, I spent 27 years in the law enforcement profession, and fentanyl is a serious and very dangerous drug. I've seen this in my career, and for the second year in a row, I want to share with you that opioids, including fentanyl, have been identified by law enforcement as the country's biggest or #1 drug threat. The unfortunate reality is this: fentanyl and drugs mixed with fentanyl remain readily available on the illicit market despite all the law enforcement's efforts to combat these deadly drugs. As indicated a moment ago, it takes all of us to combat this. Law enforcement cannot do it by ourselves. It truly takes a community to fight this. In the Michigan State Police, we oversee 21 multi-jurisdictional drug teams that operate across this great state. These cooperative teams are comprised of trained investigators from local, state, and federal law enforcement agencies dedicated to investigating narcotics trafficking and large-scale illicit drug sales. These teams have identified fentanyl as the most legal or lethal drug threat in our state, responsible for the majority of drug overdoses in Michigan. These teams also report that heroin is becoming increasingly rare to seize without the presence of deadly fentanyl. And of course, so if you know someone that is suffering from this type of addiction, please send them to the local state police post here in Oakland County. It's the Metro North Post. The Angel program also participates and is paired with an Angel volunteer from the local community who will support the participant through a professional substance abuse assessment and intake process to ensure proper placement into treatment. The Angel Volunteer also provides transportation to the treatment facility, which is often a barrier for those seeking treatment. And this program is part of our three-pronged approach here at the MSP to combating illegal drugs and substance abuse order here in our state. And these three prongs include prevention and education, and that is what we are doing here tonight. It also involves treatment, which can be obtained again through the MSP Angels program. And last but not least, enforcement, which I've already spoken about, which we are already doing each and every day across our great state. So again, it takes a community to really combat this, and solving this problem will take efforts, but again, with all of us working together. Thank you again for the invitation. It's greatly appreciated to be here tonight and to provide the attention towards this matter so that we can really make a difference moving forward in the future. And I will look further to discussion that we will have here tonight and hearing from all of our esteemed partners and presenters this evening. So thank you, Chief, for having me here.
Absolutely. Give me a round of applause. I'm going to do a quick recap of some of the things the Colonel mentioned. He mentioned about the resources that the Michigan State Police has to offer. Huge. He talked about the angels that are peer recovery coaches working hand in hand with the Michigan State Police to give you a path towards recovery. I mentioned earlier that the Southfield Police Department, we partner with Face Addiction Now. We have the great director, Wickoff, here as well. We're going to hear from her later on because that's some more important information that you all need to be aware of, different avenues of approach, different avenues of research. So our next presentation is going to be from Melissa Medici. Melissa Medici is a former captain with the Southfield Fire Department, where she now works with the city and does amazing work with the Substance Abuse Coalition and Prevention Coalition. One thing that is important for this presentation, she's going to give you a presentation on how to use Narcan. And she's also brought approximately 200 Narcan units to provide to our community. Well, you'll say, well, why is that important? Because you all are truly the first responders. You all are the ones who see individuals suffering from an overdose episode, and you're all calling 911. But during that time frame, the clock is ticking. To save that life, you have to be trained on how to administer Narcan. You have to be trained on the use of the device. And so without further ado, I'm going to turn it over to Melissa Medici.
Quickly, before we get started here, because we're going to do a demonstration, but can we have, starting with the undersheriff, just talk a little bit about what are you seeing? Because I think there's confusion about what is a synthetic drug. I mean, we all know about fentanyl. We hear so much about that, but are there other types of synthetic drugs that we should be looking out for?
Thank you for the question. So, yes, there are several, although fentanyl is clearly the most prevalent in our communities that I think in this state we see. There's also synthetic cannabinoids, marijuana, they call it spice or K2, of things of that nature. What we're finding with those is although they're highly hallucinogenic, they don't have the quite the lethalness of fentanyl or even more so carfentanil. If we talk about just fentanyl real quick, if you go to a hospital and you get morphine, everyone understands morphine's for pain, right? We all kind of understand that. Fentanyl is 100 times that. Carfentanil is 100 times fentanyl. So now we're talking 1,000 times more than morphine, to the point where a grain, about the size of a speck of salt, is lethal dose of carfentanil. So again, our recreational drug use is no longer a thing. There is the old days of, people getting high and doing these things. It's so dangerous now. And it's all because of these synthetics that are baked into what we would think typical drugs. I've personally had a dear friend of mine lose his life who thought he was smoking marijuana and it was fentanyl. It happens, and this is what we need to educate the public on. I think police agencies across this state have done a great job of really soliciting the help of the social services. We have co-responders now come with us, social workers, to many calls. We have a crisis response unit. We have a lot of different things, but ultimately what you guys need to understand is that we got to stress upon, especially the younger generation, that this idea that we can take recreational drugs, it is so deregulated. We have no idea what's in these things, and it can go from marijuana to cocaine to what you think is just a Xanny or a pill. It doesn't matter. That's where the danger's in these lives, because you just don't know what you're ingesting.
So much. I know we have a really busy evening, so we'll get to the rest of you as we go throughout the evening, but let's go ahead with the Narcan. Melissa, now, will this work on the types of drugs he was talking about, or is this specific to one type of drug?
This will work on an opiate-based, and even marijuana today contains some fentanyl in it. It's highly addictive, and then they want to smoke more. So you would use it no matter what. Anybody unresponsive or real drowsy, and we'll talk about it as we go through. But Narcan is specifically for an opiate-based drug.
And I noticed that in so many communities now, you're seeing these in a vending machine that are free for the public. So really, everyone grab them and keep them in your car. I know I've done that just in case I come across someone, maybe stopped at a stop sign. I've come across that.
Yeah, that is true. Oakland County, I believe, has 110 Save a Life stations, are the old newspaper boxes that you can pull out and grab. They have fentanyl strips in there, xylazine strips, and Narcan you can take. There's a lot of special interest groups facing addiction now. I know Fentanyl Father has it, that we actually give it out. We give it out here in Southfield. You want some, we'll give it to you for free, no questions asked. If yours is expired, we'll replace it for you. We work closely with the Alliance Coalition for Healthy Communities. So there's a lot of us that give it out for free. We just want people to have it. In Oakland County last year, we gave over 6,000 Narcan kits in Oakland County. And because we don't have exact numbers on how many we've saved, but I know there was 2,900 reversals that have been documented, because they're not all documented.
It seems kind of intimidating when we talk about this, how to administer it. But it's actually almost like a spray, right?
Yep.
Do you want to give us a...
Yep, that's correct. So the saying now is to lay, spray, and stay. So really simple words, and I'll let you do it while I go through this. So Narcan is a life-saving medication, and it's safe for everyone. From newborn up to 100, you cannot hurt anybody with this drug. The only thing it's going to do is reverse an opiate in the system. Now, you don't know if the opiate is legal or illegal, so you can have somebody over for dinner and they're really drowsy and you can't wake them up and you think it's dinner, but they could have accidentally taken too much medication, too much pain medication, right? So this is not just for illegal drugs. This is for anybody that may have accidentally or intentionally has taken an opiate and could be a fatal event. So these are everywhere. It comes in a box of 2, and each of them are 4 milligrams. There, yeah. So it comes in there. So you're going to come across somebody, and you're going to see that there's a couple signs that are classic. And one is you're unable to wake them up, or they're real drowsy. They got the nod. They could have bluish or gray skin. If skin is real dark, you can always pull down the lip or look at the fingertips or toes. Somebody that is snoring or gurgling, somebody that has slow, shallow, or absent breath are all signs of an overdose. But it's also signs for other things. Could be cardiac arrest, could be a stroke, could be diabetic. But the good thing is you don't have to figure that out. But what we have to figure out is how fast we're going to give them the Narcan. Because if they need it, then you're going to save them. If it's something else, we got 911 coming. Okay. So you come across somebody, you want to check and see if they're responsive, right? You know, same thing, are you okay? If they're not and they have other signs, some other signs are pinpoint pupils, right? We know with an opiate, we have pinpoint pupils. Somebody that is alcohol or antidepressant or marijuana have dilated pupils. But pinpoint pupils is a classic sign of opiate use, illegal or not illegal, right? You get pain medication for dental surgery, you're going to get an opiate, you're going to have pinpoint pupils. It's one of those classic signs. So you come across somebody, you pull out your Narcan, it comes in the container here, and you pull it out. And so the first thing is you're going to lay the person down if you can. If you can't, that's okay. Just if you can tilt their head back, that's fine. But if they're in a laying position or a sitting position, the next thing is you're going to insert it in the nostril. You can go ahead and insert it in the nostril. And then what you're going to do is you're going to push like this. It's a fine mist, so go ahead. Yep.
So it doesn't come back down.
Right, yep, it's a one-time use. So she laid the victim down, she sprayed it, and now we're going to stay. We're going to stay until 911 comes because they should have a response within 2 to 3 minutes. If they don't, then we're going to go ahead and give them the second dose. And like I said, you can't hurt them, right? Now, if they're not breathing, to give them a couple rounds of CPR or compressions. Because if they're not breathing, blood isn't moving, the blood isn't going to the head, and we're trying to save the brain. So if you give them a couple rounds compressions to try to get that medication to the brain. And what that Narcan is going to do is going to knock that opiate off the receptor and replace it with the Narcan. The biggest thing is to stay so that if they go back into the overdose, that you're there to help them. Because, like they said with the synthetic drugs, the fentanyl and that, they're coming higher doses. They don't even know what the doses are because it's all man-made, right? Synthetic drugs are man-made, and we don't know who's making them. We don't know what the milligram is or the strength is, and that's why they could go into an overdose. It's not uncommon for them to get 3, 4, 5 doses of Narcan in the hospital because of the strength of the synthetic drug or opiate drug. Stay with them until 911 comes and help them get help. They have about 72 hours for a non-fatal overdose to get into a rehab, and there's Facing Addiction Now will help. A lot of different special interest groups will get these people in to help, but we have 72 hours to get them into some type of rehab.
So a quick question. If they don't respond to the first dose, I go to give them the second dose, do you have to put it in the different nostril? Does it matter?
Yes, you should put it in the second nostril, but if you forget, sometimes in the heat of the moment or in the emergency, you don't think about it. It's okay if you don't, but we try to say put it in the second nostril.
And I know these have an expiration date.
That's correct. So what we say, so this one has expiration of July of 28. And if you have an expired one, you can call any one of these groups and we'll replace it, no questions asked. But if it's expired and you have nothing else, you can go ahead and use it. Because the good thing about medication is that as it expires, it doesn't get toxic. It just loses its efficacy. So you can go ahead and use it, but try to keep a dose that's not expired.
And I know, I used to work for ATF, and they kept them also for their dogs. So, I mean, this would work on a pet if they got into it as well, right? I mean.
That's true. You can give it to a canine. Sometimes the canines, they do carry the apomorphine for the overdose, but they can get it and they can use it. So if you have a dog or a cat that happens to get into something, you can give it to them. I mean, it will reverse it. That's correct.
Thank you so much. This is so important. And again, keep them, is it okay to keep it in your car? I guess I should have asked that because that's where mine's been. So I didn't know if the different weather temperatures would impact it.
So they used to be very temperamental. It was a very short period or the temperature to keep these in. But we now know that they can go up to about 105 degrees and as low as, I think it's about 20 degrees because they are in these stations, right? Try to carry it with you, but if you leave it in your car or something, if it's cold, you might want to warm it up if it freezes a little bit. But if it's too hot, but you're not going to hurt someone by giving someone that it might be too hot. You're better to give it than to withhold it.
Thank you so much. It's great information. Give her a round of applause. Oh, yeah.
Okay. I just want to bring to the attention here in Southfield, we have a new rehab residential center going in at Civic Center in Berg. We have 64 residential homes that are going to be for people that have been through rehab, but this is long-term, and there's a place in Jackson that has this. They have a 90% success rate. So we're really excited that it's coming here to Southfield because we need to help our residents in this side of the community. So this is not a short-term, they come and go in 90 days. This is they stay for as long as they need to get the supportive care. I think it's going to be really exciting. I think it's going to be good for Southfield, and I think you should look into that to coming to help people because we really need it here on the south end of Oakland County. You want me to talk about this? All right, what?
We move to the next presentation. I do want to kind of drive home the point of what Melissa was mentioning about this device could be used even on children. In 2020, the Southfield Police Department responded to a child who was suffering from an overdose, unresponsive. What happened was the child had got a hold of the parents' opioids and was suffering from an overdose episode. So when we responded, our officers had the training, looked at the signs, the dilated pupils in that child, and were able to issue the Narcan and save that child. So again, a device that you should carry because you never know when you will need to use it. Children, strangers, or your loved ones. Because like I said, substance abuse disorder affects many people, and some that you don't even know are dealing with this deadly disease. Thank you.
Okay. So what's this kit here, real quick?
So this is a kit, our coalition purchased them all for Southfield schools. And what this is, it's a one box. And you'll see them because we purchased them for the city too, by the AED machines. But what happens, or what can happen is someone may go down. You open the box, we have Narcan right there. We have the gloves and the protective mask. And then if you forget or don't know how to do it, it actually has a video on how to do it.
First off, let's take a deep breath. Step number one.
If you see these, they're, you can use it. It says opiate.
Thank you. This is going to save lives. This is saving lives already. Thanks so much.
And real quick, Melissa, what resources by either the boxes or the Narcan, what do we offer into the community?
So we offer free Narcan training with Narcan kits. We do CPR here, and we have events with the coalition. But all these vendors are usually here at all our events. We all offer things to help with substance abuse, mental health. So I just think it's important whether you visit any one of these people, because we're really here just to help people. It doesn't matter what community you live in. But we're really passionate about it, and the Narcan training is free, and we will travel. That would be me. We travel, we give it, and I bring the Narcan kits.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Chief, do you want to have any anyone have any comments about experiences with the Narcan with your officers? Director Cooper?
Sure. All of our officers, we're a public safety agency, so all of our officers are cross-trained in both police, fire, and medical first responder. So all medical runs, when we get a call, our officers are responding to those scenes. And we have been on, several scenes where our officers have actually had to use the Narcan. It actually works. It's very effective. And when we start talking about the synthetic opioids, another one that's really popular, I know the undersheriff mentioned it, is the synthetic marijuana. I think a lot of times people know, all of us are aware now that, medical marijuana has been legalized for some time, and now recreational marijuana has been legalized as well. So you think, oh, what's the harm? It's just a little marijuana. There's no harm. There's no foul there. Not realizing that it's a synthetic. It may be a synthetic marijuana, or it may be laced with fentanyl. And the issue with that is that you don't know, how that fentanyl was manufactured, what's the potency level mixture with the marijuana, and so you're literally playing Russian roulette. I kind of equate it as well to if you had a bottle of Tylenol and you had 10 pills in there and 5 of them were poison. If you knew that, would you still take 2? So, like I said, it's a very real issue. And does not, like I said, doesn't discriminate. So it's not for, a poverty-stricken or somebody less influential than another community. It cuts across all race, all genders, all social economic status. So, like I said, we definitely see it in the field, and the Narcan is an excellent tool that work has been very successful.
Now, is that the stuff we see sold in the gas stations?
The synthetic marijuanas,
Yeah.
you will see it.
I'm never
you'll see
sure
it
what
everywhere.
that stuff is. I'm like,
Yeah, exactly. It's the marijuana. You'll see it at gas stations. You'll see it at a lot of the even when you go to some of their marijuana dispensary places. Do you really know? I know a lot of these places are regulated, but hey, do you really want to take the chance in making a purchase not knowing? Are they abiding by all the rules and regulations set out by states, the government that are put in place? So. It's just something to think about.
And also be aware that these drugs are also available for purchase online. That's how a lot of the youth are getting their hands on them as well. So be mindful of that. They're online, available for purchase at any time.
I think a lot of parents, anyone in here on Snapchat? Parents, are you guys on Snapchat? Right? Like, I'm still trying to figure out Snapchat. And I think some of these social media sites, the kids are so much more in tune with them that as parents, we don't know what they're doing. And that can make it easier for them to get some of these drugs. Is that correct? Okay. I think right now, I know that at the beginning you talked a little bit about how so much of this goes hand in hand with human trafficking. And so for that, do we want to go ahead and jump into that arena now?
Absolutely. And I kind of touched on it this beginning of my remarks when I mentioned Detective Autumn Cece, the Southfield Police Department, a veteran of our agency who's been with us and really doing amazing work for the Southfield Police Department. She not only currently serves with the Oakland County Human Trafficking Task Force, she also, several years ago, served in our federal Human Trafficking Task Force. And so that tells you all about the level of dedication that she has for holding human traffickers accountable. I mentioned a case this evening regarding a significant arrest where this individual was trafficking and he came all the way from Texas, tied into places in Chicago. We had another individual coming out of Georgia traveling here. And what Detective Cece is going to share with you is some of her experiences, some of the accountability, and even some of the laws that are now in the favor of law enforcement. And I'll give you an example, because she just taught me this about 2 weeks ago. Oftentimes, law enforcement, we're faced with victims refusing to prosecute. It happens all the time, whether it's domestic violence, assault and battery, and this really hinders a lot of our prosecution efforts. But the new law for human trafficking victims who may be afraid because of the intimidation I mentioned, the threats that they get in their families for testifying, we can now use body camera footage from interviews, testimonies from experts such as the detective who would tell what they were told at the time of the arrest, and then associate the evidence to serve in the place of a human trafficking victim afraid or fearful of telling her story in a court. So I'm doing all this talking. I'm going to turn it over to the detective.
Thank you, Chief. So what I'm on the Oakland County Human Trafficking Task Force now. I was on, it was called SEMCAC back when I was on it. It was SEMTEC now. It's an FBI Human Trafficking Task Force. But the Oakland County Human Trafficking Task Force is, the undersheriff is in charge of, and our lovely chief is one of the first people to put a full-time officer on the task force. So we're very few, and we have just a few officers on our task force. So we're working on growing. We're working on getting other departments to give us officers, chiefs. I'll probably get in trouble for that. but yeah, we're working on it, and it was led by the Oakland County Sheriff's Department and the prosecutor's office to get this human trafficking task force going. And we've been doing. There's only a few of us on it. I think there's 5 or 6 of us now, and we've been doing a lot of work lately in the last few weeks, and it's a brand new task force. So I want to thank our chief and the undersheriff for putting us on it, because we have the issue in Southfield, and it's all over Southeast Michigan and Oakland County. So thank you for that. But yeah, I've had a lot of experience with the human trafficking, and a lot of what we see with human trafficking are a lot of addicts, a lot of people with the disease. Whether they had it when they got into the human trafficking and began being trafficked, or they had it, or they didn't have it, and the trafficker forced them and got them addicted. So those are two ways it happens. So what traffickers will do is look for the perfect victim, as I call it, for a trafficker. They're going to look for somebody very vulnerable. That's what they always look for, is somebody very vulnerable that they can mold into a way, or beat, or talk sweetly to, into the way to get them to traffic. A drug addict or somebody addicted to drugs is a perfect victim for that. So they'll seek out people addicted to drugs because it's more of a control mechanism for them. They'll supply the drugs to the girls as long as they keep doing sexual dates and bringing the trafficker the money. And usually those kind of traffickers are actually drug dealers also. So they're also selling the drugs on the side, so they always have it. And they'll keep the girls, I say girls, I might say girls too many times, but they'll keep the victims just high enough to where they don't get sick, so that they do some sex work. We call them dates. They do some sex work, and then they have to come back with all their money that they made to the trafficker and get a little bit more just for the fix, so they don't get sick. Because you get sick if you don't have your drugs when you have this disease. So that's one way traffickers control their victims. Okay, they'll seek out an actual addict and take advantage of them. Another way that we've run into is they'll sweet talk somebody to come hang out with them, go on a date with them, or come to my hotel and hang out with me. And they'll either force them to take drugs, convince them to take drugs, or actually have another girl shoot them up themselves, or physically shoot them up with heroin themselves, to get them addicted so that they can control the victims, the sex workers. They can control them that way. And when they're addicted, it's way easier for these, we call them pimps, it's not a proper term, but we call them pimps, traffickers, to control these girls. So that's a lot of what we see. And it's sad, like the chief was saying, they're scared of their traffickers, so it's very hard to get them to testify. So we got to really stay on the phone with them, meet with them a lot, make that connection with them. But at the same time, when they're also addicted to synthetic drugs, it's hard to keep them in touch with you, and it's hard to get them ready or get them clean. And we do focus on that. We have Common Ground that comes out with us every time. And we have many, many resources through Common Ground. If the victims want help, we get them into help right away. And we ask them multiple times through the whole court process. When you're ready, we have resources. So it's available. Like I said, a lot of these traffickers are drug dealers. They actually start out as drug dealers, and then they work their way, they realize they can make more money or just as much money as selling the girls. So one thing I have seen, one of the worst things I have seen that we will see once in a great while is it's called a hot shot. It's a dose of mixed synthetic drugs in a needle, to where if a girl's talking or cooperating with the police, or they think she snitched, they will either have one of their other girls, or they will actually shoot the girls up and kill them. So that has happened, and it's a very, very difficult case for us to investigate. But we see those once in a great while. So I mean, these are some horrible dangers of these drugs. I mean, it's shocking and difficult, but that's why we're out there. We don't treat them any differently either. We come across, we treat all victims the same. If they have the sickness or if they're sober, we treat them the same. You know, they will tell us when they're ready. I've gotten a few girls clean when I was on, and that's my goal, is actually to get these girls clean, because they are people still. They're in a lot of society has kind of thrown them away. But when I was on the FBI task force, where I got a few of the girls clean, and the main thing of getting the girls clean was getting them out of this environment, getting them into another state to help them. So, but yeah, we see a lot of, probably I would guess maybe 75% of our victims have an addiction problem. Just because they're an easy victim for these traffickers to get their hands on and control. And it's sad, but I mean, that's what we're fighting every day. And we go out, we offer the girls resources, and we tell them, you're the victim. That's what we do. We don't treat them as a suspect, even though they're selling their bodies. We treat them as a victim the whole time, and we offer lots of help. We have lots of resources, and like I said, we have Common Ground come out. So,
Detective, you've kind of mentioned other women or other girls involved in this. I think as a parent, I'm looking really for those beginning signs. I'm more concerned of the guys or an older guy. But how do other women play into this? Do they help kind of lure some of the girls into the lifestyle?
yes, yeah, they do. They a lot of the traffickers will have like a right-hand woman. We call them their bottoms. They actually have a name, the bottom. And a lot of times we'll charge the bottom because they will not cooperate. But they're out recruiting. They're out helping control these girls. The same thing, yeah. And they'll be out there and they'll go to the mall and say, "Oh yeah, you look sad today. You know, you want to go get your hair done?" And the girls are actually doing that. Yeah, a lot of these traffickers have a right-hand woman that will help control it. Mm-hmm. Correct.
What type of age range are you seeing where this typically starts? Is it preteen, teen?
It's every age. Yeah, we've had people that have become addicts in their 40s and 50s, and they get a trafficker that grabs onto them because they see that weakness, and that's what happens. I mean, and some of them we have a few that start as teenagers, but a lot of those girls that start as teenagers have a really rough home life. Foster care to foster care, habitual runaways because something else is going on at home. So that's when we see a lot of the teenagers. And these traffickers know how to spot that. They're great at reading people. So, and they look for that weak girl out there or boy, and they look for somebody that can be taken advantage of.
Well, I'm thinking about this completely different because I think we've all thought like, oh, we see someone in the mall and it's an older man and he seems to be talking to a young girl. Like, you know, we would start to pay attention, but I never thought to think about other women. So with that, what are some of the things like as public or parents that we should be looking for?
A lot of it's happening on social media for the younger generation. In fact, I had a girl this week tell me that she met somebody on social media that was doing it. So yeah, it happens. A lot of them are meeting them on social media because a lot of our victims go to social media because they're feeling down and they start chatting with other individuals and make them feel better. And then these traffickers know that and they'll start building their confidence, giving them compliments, things like that. So a lot of it's on social media. I've had girls picked up at bus stops when they've run away. It could be anywhere. And a lot of times when you see like Facebook, some of this social media stuff where it says, stay out of Walmart, they're stealing girls out of Walmart and trafficking them. Those are usually not true. If that's ever happening, you're gonna see it on the news. So a lot of that is false. They do it under the radar. They're not going to run in and snatch somebody and drag them out for the most part. It's more of a coercion. Yeah, most of the time it's not a force, it's a coercion. It's building the girl up, or like I said, getting them addicted to drugs, or finding a drug addict. So
And let's not forget that some of this stuff happens right under your nose. Some of this is family members, close friends of the family. When you look at the data nationally, it's not all strangers. They're manipulating their nieces, their nephews at these young ages. We did a story not that long ago about a family member who was starting this process early on with a 5-year-old and a 7-year-old boy and girl respectively, that through the great work of our detectives was able to uncover. So be mindful of where your children and where your grandchildren are and who's watching them. Because again, close friends of the family are also doing these same things, recruiting our youth into a lifestyle of human trafficking.
Cece, Detective, thank you so much. I mean, obviously, you could see by the questions, everyone's deeply concerned about this, so thank you for the work that you're doing. Let's give her a round of applause, and we appreciate it. Again, we'll have time a little bit later. I believe you're also getting sheets of paper for you to put some questions and your thoughts down so that we can continue to continue this conversation. Sadly, with this, though, you know, we're talking about this, but we need to remember that it's real people, and this is impacting all of us. So we want to go ahead and bring up Fathers Against Fentanyl. Mike Gillette. Mike, are you here? So sadly, we have to remember, again, this impacts so many of us deeply and personal, and it's a hard journey, and that brings us together to help other people, but it's a hard road getting here, though, isn't it? Mike, first, do you want to tell us a little bit about your organization? I didn't know about you guys until this event, though, so.
Well, let me just start by introducing you to my son, Brian. On January 27th, 2022, my wife and I found my oldest son, Brian, dead on his bedroom floor. Brian died of fentanyl poisoning. This is not unique to my family. The year my son died, we lost over 100,000 people to fentanyl poisoning, and it's the #1 killer of young people in this country. Unfortunately, young people today are turning to counterfeit pills as a way to deal with anxiety and a way to deal with stress and the pressures that they're dealing with. And what they don't know is that 50% of these drugs contain a lethal amount of fentanyl. So these young people are dying in numbers that are exceeding 80,000 currently. I had difficulty finding purpose in my life after the loss of my child. I couldn't get out of bed. I couldn't deal with simple things in my life. The devastation that I was feeling and that my family was feeling was beyond anything I can begin to describe. And I know that there's people in here who have lost family members to fentanyl, who have lost family members to gun violence. But I will tell you that you have no idea the pain and the regret and the guilt that we live with. How could I not save my son? Why wasn't I there for him? This is a feeling that over 500,000 parents are dealing with in this country today. So I've met with hundreds of bereaved parents, and we all agree on one thing, and I hear it from this panel. Awareness is our #1 weapon. And I heard comments being made about we need to bring awareness to young people. You know, these are the kids who are falling victim to these drugs now. So I struggled with purpose in my life. I struggled getting out of bed, as I mentioned earlier. And what did I do? I was introduced to an organization called Fentanyl Fathers. And Fentanyl Fathers is a group of bereaved parents. We've each lost a child to fentanyl. We actually have a parent who lost both of his boys on the same day, celebrating high school graduation. So this is something that's impacting the community, and I found a place at Fentanyl Fathers. We make presentations at high schools and middle schools, bringing awareness of the dangers of fentanyl and counterfeit pills that these young people are buying on social media. These are very impactful presentations where we combined factual information, we share stories of our loss, but the goal is to make these young people aware of the dangers of these drugs so that they would rather drink gasoline than take a counterfeit pill at a party. We've done over 75 presentations in Southeast Michigan this last school year. We reached over 20,000 students. But there's still schools that we have not been able to get into. There are still schools that we've not made presentations at. So I'm looking at the people in this audience. If you have connections in schools, if you care about young people, please reach out to us. We do these at no charge to the schools. We do this to save lives. And I will tell you that the impact that we have on these students is unbelievable. I look out at students during our presentations. I see students crying. I see teachers crying. At the end of our presentations, we have students lined up to thank us, to share their stories of loss, and to hug us and cry with us. This has been the most important work I've done in my life, and I do this to honor my son. And it's difficult for me to talk about Brian. He was an amazing person. He didn't expect for his life to end the way it did. So it's my mission to make sure that nobody in this room feels the pain that I'm feeling and that we save the lives of our young people today.
I want to drive home a very important point that he made. He talked about the work that him and the organization are doing to reach these schools. But you'll be surprised the number of schools that will not allow law enforcement or community organizations to go in there to educate these kids, because some of these schools act like these things aren't affecting their communities. They're acting like their kids can't become victim of this crisis. So that's why I want to commend you on the work that you're doing with your organization, at least putting forth the effort to get inside these schools, because it does make a difference. So thank you again for your hard work.
How can people get in touch with you?
You can reach us. Our website is fentanylfathers.org. My email is mike@fentanylfathers.org. So please reach out if you want to contribute, if you want to help us get into schools. This is our mission, and I'm working hard right now to line up schools for this next calendar year.
Thank you for what you're doing. I'm so sorry for your loss. You know, if we can, for law enforcement, I know those days are extremely hard as well. So, Chief Piggott, if I can ask you, what's it like with your law enforcement? How do they tackle this in trying to help the parents in dealing when they get these notifications?
Yeah, that's always, no one wants to make death notifications, and certainly not within people's homes after these things happen. I think this is where, when they're trying to do the outreach beforehand, and it's important to know that, You know, there might have been a time in law enforcement where we thought we could just arrest our way out of these problems. Like, we're just gonna show up and there's drugs on a table and someone's overdosing and we seize it and we arrest people, and that deters people from wanting to call for help. And in the last 20 years, there really is a genuine turn, which is why when Chief Barron says we participate in FAN, we participate in Hope Not Handcuffs, and the goal is we want to save lives. You know, I would much rather spend time taking somebody to a hospital than spend hours investigating a death. So what we need to get out there is, even kind of going back to the human trafficking aspect, is that people believe that if they call 911 or they call law enforcement or they're looking for help, that they're going to be punished, right? Police are going to show up, they're going to get charged with possession of narcotics, they're going to go to jail, they could lose their jobs. That's a huge deterrent, right? What we need to do is get that turnaround and make sure that the community understands that in these instances, we are first and foremost life safety. We want to save lives and we want to turn people away from these drugs and toward help. So our focus when we show up on a scene of a drug overdose is to, one, render aid, which is, again, why is Narcan in every single police officer's car? Because we're the first ones there most of the time, and that's the first go-to that we're going to give to people. After that, if we're blessed enough that they come out of it, we want to get them resources and get the family resources. So one of the things that I would emphasize here is that families need to know that if they're calling law enforcement or they're calling 911, don't be afraid that police are going to lock up your loved ones, all right? That the goal here is to give them treatment, to give them help, hopefully that they see how close they were to death when they come back out of being awoken from Narcan. And maybe one of these is their low point where they're willing to accept the help that we're able to offer them, right? That it's not leaning toward criminal punishment, but more help, right? So whether that's children that are getting hold of drugs from friends that are getting passed along where they don't know dosages, or they really are longtime drug addicts, like that is the goal. Certainly in Oakland County, that's my experience in law enforcement here, is that's what we're aiming for. And that's one of the goals of having things like this, is to get that out, that, we're not just coming with handcuffs. We do want to help our residents.
That's a totally different conversation than probably even, 10 years ago. So, Mike, thank you. And you'll be here for the rest of the evening. So if anyone wants to go over and talk with him, we want to be mindful of everyone's time and try to keep this moving along. Chief, anything that you want to say before we maybe break and allow people to eat real quick, or?
Presentation from Council President Ari Mandelbaum, and then
sorry.
after that we'll do dinner.
You know what? See, that's me trying not to put my glasses on to read. I'm sorry, but after 40, sometimes I just have to do it, right? I just have to put them on. Oh, you want to go up? Okay, there we go.
All right, good evening, everyone. That's a hard testimony to follow. Luckily, I do not have any family members that have died from an overdose, but I did have a friend who did. And I'll try to keep this quick because I guess I'm between you and dinner now. But I want to tell you about someone that I used to know. His name is Ben. In elementary school and most of middle school, Ben was one of my closest friends. We played basketball together, rode bikes around the neighborhood, and talked about everything: video games, school, our ridiculous dreams of being famous one day. He was funny, full of energy, and honestly one of the kindest people I knew. But towards the end of middle school, something started to change. Ben began hanging out with a different crowd. He got quieter around me, a little more distant. By the time we got to high school, we were more like acquaintances than friends. We would nod at each other in the hallway, maybe a quick "what's up," but that was it. I figured we would just grown apart. It happens. I never imagined that a few years later, I'd be hearing from someone that Ben had died. He was only 22. I found out he was using synthetic drugs. As was mentioned before, Spice, K2, or whatever they're selling it under now. It's the kind of stuff that everyone thinks is harmless because you can buy it at a convenience store or online. But it's not harmless. It's unregulated, unpredictable, and deadly. Ben had a bad reaction. His heart gave out. Just like that, he was gone. I still remember sitting there in shock, scrolling through old pictures of us, trying to wrap my head around it. The kid that I rode bikes with, the kid who used to talk about being a sports player, maybe a teacher, that kid was gone, and all because of a drug that he probably thought was no big deal. But here's what I've learned since then. Drugs, especially synthetic drugs, don't care how good of a person you are. They don't care what your dreams are or who you love, or what kind of future you want to have ahead. They can take it all away in one decision, one bad batch, one moment of thinking, it won't happen to me. And they're everywhere now. They're easy to get, easy to try, too easy to regret. If you're here listening to this, I want you to know something. You matter, your future matters, your family and friends matter, and no drug, no high, no temporary escape is worth risking everything for. Ben didn't get another chance, but you being here tonight and educating yourselves to take back to your friends and family, you can get another chance and give someone else another chance. So please, if you're ever offered something, walk away. If you're struggling, speak up. If someone you know is slipping, don't ignore it. You never know how much a conversation, a check-in, or a simple, "Are you okay?" could change someone's life. We lost Ben, but we don't have to lose anyone else. Stay strong, stay safe, stay here. Thank you.
Powerful stories tonight. And again, it impacts all of us. It touches all of our hearts and all of our lives. We want to go ahead and bring up the chaplain. Then what we'll do is we'll take a quick break once we do a quick prayer before we eat. And then during that time, again, you have the sheets in front of you. If you can take a few moments to fill it out. And then when we come back, we'll have a Q&A period so that we can talk a little bit more. Oh, you snuck up behind me. I was looking for you. Look at that. See, I was looking out there. Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. Good evening, everyone. And I'm the one that's actually standing between you and your food. So we're going to go ahead and get right to it. But this has been a very informative forum, has it not? Can we just say, applaud our chiefs? I know they all have different titles, but they're all chiefs. And to everyone who have participated, I don't know about you, but we can never hear enough about the dangers of synthetic drugs and human trafficking. So we need to let our voices constantly be heard that when we see something is not right, say something. Do something. Because tough love is still love. Because the life you save is very precious, and they do matter. So may we bow our heads in humble submission for the food that we are about to receive. Amen. So, Father God, we give thanks for the food that we are about to receive. We give thanks for the hands that prepared it. We give thanks for those with whom we share it. We give thanks for the bounty of the land. Take anything out that should not be there. May our bodies be nourished. May our hearts be open with gratitude and compassion for those that are suffering from any form of food insecurity. We pray that provisions are made to replenish and sustain them. So, Father God, as we break bread together, may our fellowship be a moment of blessing, gratitude, and peace. We ask these blessings in the mighty, matchless, majestic, and merciful name of Jesus we pray. And the people of God say, amen. It is time to eat. Let's fellowship. Hallelujah.
But we don't have a lot of time left to be able to do this. But in the meantime, I do want to ask, I don't know if someone up here wants to take this question, is talking with the assistant superintendent from the schools is one of the things she had mentioned was the vape and the vape pens and how it's now kids, very young kids are kind of getting hooked on these vapes and how they're targeted towards the younger generation. Are you guys having a problem with that? Are you guys seeing that in your communities?
So I'll take that. So yes, I mean, vaping is obviously probably the most popular form of consumption for specifically those 15 and under. We're seeing quite a bit of that. There's 1,000 different ways, unfortunately, that these things are hidden from authorities, be it the school or whatever. They've gotten quite crafty with it. The troubling part about vapes is, again, chemical-based. We don't necessarily always know what's being put in them. And furthermore, they're much like a McDonald's Happy Meal, they're targeted for kids. They make them, they design these things for children sometimes, which is quite remarkable. And again, the addiction to vape starts a long series of problems down the road. We used to talk about typical tobacco, cigarettes, or marijuana being gateway drugs and these things like that. So, it is kind of aware. Lastly, the point I want to make about it is because it's a chemical, and we know that a child's brain doesn't fully develop till 25, we have no idea what the total impact's going to be on a child growing up vaping. So.
I mean, I'm going to kind of date myself here, but I kind of remember, going down to buy my mom a pack of cigarettes, and you had to be, I don't know what, 14, 16 or something. Is there an age limit on vaping or no?
It is. It's similar to tobacco, but the availability is literally everywhere, and it's not much. Essentially, you get your hands on a pack of cigarettes, you can probably easier, in fact, nowadays, get your hand on a vape and vaping chemicals.
We have just a few minutes left, so if anyone has a question, if you want to come up to the mic, we're only going to have time for a few questions because we want to give time for all of our guests to be able to have some closing statements. Come on up.
Hi, my name is Dr. Tanya Norwood, and this is my son. I don't know where he went. What can we do, and my husband's an educator, Willie, he's sitting back there. What can we do as community members to help bridge the gap between schools and the police department? Because again, we need to start middle school, high school, and we want to make sure that, how can I put it? Because you made a comment about people don't want, people in the schools, and I don't understand that as a former educator. We need to be proactive, not reactive. So what can we do to assist?
And thank you, and I'll take the first response. So really, you've already begun that process just by being here and in hearing some of the concerns and some of the challenges that we and also our community-based organizations are having with some of the schools. As you know, I think the problem with some of the school is, and I kind of touched on it lightly, where some of the schools want to shield the students from this, and maybe, again, I'm going to say maybe, influenced by some of the parents who are not understanding that just because you may be from a certain class or live in a certain neighborhood, that this can't happen to you. And so they want to shield their children from this topic. But to answer your question, I encourage you, whether it's Southfield, whatever community, reach out to that police department. Southfield has school resource officers embedded in the schools. Certainly, we can't be in every school. Right now, we're more towards the public schools. And we're not a major city, but we do our best to make our ways around different schools and participate in some of their programs. In addition to that, school resource officers also do presentations, vaping, bullying, human trafficking. We do that here in Southfield. So I would just encourage you to reach out to the agency, form a relationship with that leader, whether it's a police chief or sheriff, and then invite them to join the schools, and then set expectations. If you're an educator, and certainly I know that, Dr. Norwood, an educator, you have a voice, and you have avenues to, and I use the word put pressure on some of these police departments who not as forthright or want to be bothered with the community. Police departments respond to the community, and that's the expectation from us. Yeah.
Thank you. Okay, Anna?
Hi, thank you. I was wondering what.
And 1 second. Hey, at the table back there, at the people getting the food, if you keep the noise down, please. Thank you.
Thank you. I was wondering what a safe relationship between law enforcement and people who use drugs and harm reduction agencies look like to you.
I'll provide a response to that. So I think it's very important. I know one of my colleagues up here talked about utilizing social workers. It's very important that we have very good relationships because I'm going to tell you right now, as it was indicated earlier, we can't arrest or write tickets, right, to solve all of the problems. So we have to work with different organizations, members of the community, to truly have the impact that's needed to make a difference. And so I think that a lot of law enforcement agencies, including the state police, are doing a good job with partnering with other organizations to reduce crime, to reduce addiction, to work with the youth, and any and everything else we can, because again, we don't always have the resources, nor do we always have the subject expert knowledge as well in those areas. And so we have to utilize resources within the community to assist us so that we can truly find solutions to problems that are occurring across the state.
And I'll chime in. It's a great question. And I'll kind of piggyback when I was saying about the schools. And I'll give you an example with Southfield. We partnership with Haven because we talked about the domestic violence concerns that we have. We have partnerships with Face Addiction Now to ensure that resources are available. We have partnerships with our schools, the courts, other public safety officials. And so, as the Colonel mentioned, we recognize that we're not experts in some of the fields, particularly with mental health. We also have partners along those avenues as well. And those experts are able to assist us and then do the follow-up to these crimes and substance abuse and mental health challenges. Great question.
Come on up, Earl. Quite a few people, we have a lot of teachers and parents, and the vaping really seems to be a big issue that they want to address. But Earl, you want to talk about marijuana?
Yes, the last research I saw was that the Food and Drug Administration only authorized and approved 4 cannabis. One was the drugs cannabis, and the other was synthetic. Have you found any synthetic, uncontrolled drugs in the marijuana facilities?
Okay, I can take that. That's a great question. Thank you. So, here's kind of the difficult thing for law enforcement that we've been challenged with is because of the law change where recreational marijuana is essentially legal in this state for all intents and purposes, it becomes very, very difficult to find reasons and to enforce any laws revolving around marijuana. We've transitioned on to these fentanyls, to the heroin, to everything else, and kind of marijuana and by proxy their synthetics kind of have fallen to the wayside. I think all of us collectively could do a better job with dealing with that, but it's a very difficult process. I mean, when we devote resources and time, when we know there's no conviction at the end, or because of the legality of it all. So it's a difficult thing to prosecute.
And I'll kind of piggyback on what he's saying. So oftentimes when we try to prosecute marijuana cases, they're not going through the judicial process because of the legalization with marijuana. And that's a hurdle that we're having. Part of this discussion is questions and concerns like you have, where we're writing these things down, and at the conclusion of this panel, we're sending the ideas and concerns that you have to the legislators for consideration. I had a gentleman just come up to me a little while ago and asked me, is it possible that we can get the legislators to consider, similar to the gun laws, if irresponsible adults leave these medications unsecured, could there be some kind of ramification for that? So again, the marijuana is very difficult for law enforcement. It's a big hurdle because of legalization.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
We're going to try to be respectful of your time. If we could take, I'm going to take, Nancy, if you guys want to come back. They both have questions kind of about human trafficking. So let's, if we can bring those, piggyback them together, and then let that be the last question so that we can have you do closing statements.
Hi, I really wanted to have you all address the importance of this, the whole social media aspect. There are parents that their children are giving out information, even the parents are, that lead to these kids being trafficked. So can you really talk about that? Because I know that's a big deal, and I know that it's how you find out some of the criminals. So even if she would talk about that, because I think that's very, very important that parents aren't aware, and even the use of the kids with the electronics at an early age. Thank you.
I agree. I think it's a huge problem. The social media, even Roblox. If anybody knows Roblox, it's like a little kid's game. Like my daughter, my 8-year-old daughter plays on it. They're on there. I mean, it's more of a pedophile thing. But pedophiles are on there because I did sex crimes for a long time too. Social media, keep your kids off of it. They're everywhere because they know their victims and they know who they want. Like I said, just talked to a girl this weekend. Her trafficker met her on Instagram, found her on Instagram. We've had some girls, if anybody heard of Moco Space, I don't know if it's really around that much anymore, but I hear about it sometimes. It's a social network. And yeah, they go out hunting and finding girls and boys with vulnerable posts, building up their self-esteem and start talking to them, tell them they're pretty, tell them they're worth it. That's all they want to hear. So yeah, social media is huge.
And Detective Nancy, you have one question for her.
No, I'm not a detective, but thank you.
Oh, I meant for her
No, okay.
detective. I meant for her detective.
First of all, thank you very much for everything that you do for our community and also for Oakland County. I really appreciate it. But one thing I'm confused on, why would we ask a human trafficking victim if they want help? Why can't we just take them and give them help? And if we can't, are there any laws or legislation that we can try to adopt to help these people? Because if they're drugged, they don't know what they're doing, they're afraid. I don't understand why we just can't take them and help them.
There's nothing that, if they're a juvenile, we can. We can take them and the last resort is to lock them up because a lot of the thought behind human trafficking and locking victims away anywhere, like the juveniles, we have Mandy's place up at Oakland County, we can put them in there. But it's almost re-traumatizing the victim, is locking them up. So if there's no laws for us to force them. If they are mentally ill or they show signs of mental illness, which some do, alongside the drugs, trying to medicate with drugs, we will commit them to the hospital. I've committed some victims to the hospital when you can prove that they can't control or take care of themselves properly. So, but yeah, I can't think of any laws.
Yeah, unfortunately, the laws don't support law enforcement to go down the avenue. We have to evaluate their mental capacity. And in that mental capacity, we have to evaluate whether they are harm to themselves or others. And if we determine that they are, we're able to commit them for psychiatric treatment. But an adult who, chooses that lifestyle, we're confined to the law, and it does not support us for making them get treatment. Yeah.
One last thing here, you have resources for people.
So I'm a proud employee of Southfield Public Schools, and we have a resource for families that need help, want help, or you're just curious and you want to learn. So if you go on to the Southfield Public Schools site, you'll see a medallion. It is Parent Guidance Organization. And if you tap on that, you can receive all types of support. There are courses. You can ask a therapist. It helps you, it will guide your mental health needs. It will guide your needs for students that may have some issues with addiction or making poor choices. So check that out. It's free. It's grant funded. And if you're a Southfield resident, you too can access it. Thank you.
And thank you. And Ronnie, I want to inject Face Addiction Now into the conversation. I mentioned to you all earlier that the Southfield Police Department, and let me back up, not just Southfield, there's multiple organizations. In the last numbers I checked, about 100 law enforcement agencies in the state of Michigan are participating with Face Addiction Now and some of our comeback quick response teams. And I mentioned that to you earlier, when we go out within 72 hours to assist those who just had a recent overdose episode. Also, Hope Not Handcuffs, where individuals suffering from an addiction can walk right into a police department, right into a fire department, and get resources from FAM and help that they need. So if you could just kind of tell what you do and what resources you have available.
Sure, thanks, Chief. And thank you to all of the officers here for being here today and for all of the work that you do to support your communities. We really appreciate you. My name is Erin Witkoff. I'm the director of the quick response teams at Face Addiction Now. We're actually partnered with over 180 police departments in the state of Michigan for our Hope Not Handcuffs program. Very similar to the Angel program. You can walk into any of these agencies and request help accessing treatment resources. And we'll either send in a volunteer angel or help you virtually access a bed into treatment. And then if you are unable or unwilling to walk into a police department, you can call our call center directly. And that number is 833-202-4673. Again, 833-202-4673. And we can help you right over the phone access recovery resources and support, whether that's inpatient or outpatient services. We have people manning that line every day, 365 days a year from 8 a.m. to 10 p.m. We field about 5,000 calls a month, and not everybody is seeking to get to inpatient resources or inpatient treatment. Sometimes people are just looking for resources or asking questions about the work that we do at FAN. I run the quick response teams. The large majority of the 19 teams that we have are law enforcement-led programs. We work here in the city of Southfield. We used to have a team with Oak Park, but their overdoses have declined dramatically, so we don't have a team there anymore, but occasionally when they have an overdose, they'll make a referral to us and we go out with law enforcement. And our team with Farmington Hills is on hold right now because we have a new chief, but hopefully we'll be able to get that up and running again soon. 18 of those teams in Macomb, Oakland, Wayne, Bay, Saginaw, and Midland go out with a police officer in plain clothes, a peer recovery coach, and a family recovery coach. We respond to the scene of an overdose, or we also interact with people who have had contact with law enforcement as a result of some dysregulated substance use, and we bring recovery resources, harm reduction resources, and help people access other social and healthcare referrals, because sometimes people really aren't interested in changing the way that they use drugs or can't change the way that they use drugs because of some type of resource scarcity. So we help them connect with other social and healthcare referrals and stay safe while they continue to use drugs. We bring Narcan and drug testing strips and just build relationships with people. The other thing that we do is that's really unique is try to get families connected to resources. I had multiple people in my life struggling with substance use. As a family member, I didn't know what to do. It went on for a really long time, and I did some things that were kind of harmful. Because, again, I didn't know what to do. No one really teaches you how to love somebody with an addiction. And as a family member, I became unwell, and I lived sort of a chaotic life that mimicked maybe my loved one's addiction, in that I was isolating and that I had some unhealthy behaviors. And when I got in my loved one's way, it was in an attempt maybe to control and to help them. And so we have peer-to-peer support for family members through our family coaching program. That helps family members understand how to set healthy boundaries and how to maybe reset those dynamics in their family that are unhealthy in an attempt to really build healthy relationships with their person while they're in active addiction. We also have a family support group called Stronger Together, and that's a continuum of care that family members can utilize after that peer-to-peer support with their family recovery coach. We have a lot of other programs. I know we talked about the youth here. We have a graphic novel that is targeted anywhere from 5th grade all the way through college. So this graphic novel can be used by teachers, social workers, anyone in a school district to talk to kids about stigma. Stigma is one of the biggest barriers to care for people, and we need to eliminate the stigma associated with the disease of addiction. And so we want to start talking to kids at a young age so that they can understand that they don't have to be ashamed about what's going on in their family or ashamed of maybe their friends or anyone in their lives who's struggling with addiction. That graphic novel is available for free on our website. You can download a PDF, or you can go right to our website and request free copies, and you just have to pay shipping. Our website is just faceaddictionnow.org. We do a ton of education, including education for law enforcement, hospital systems, dentists, really anybody who will listen to us. We tailor that education to the audience. Again, it's surrounding stigma, deflection, and diversion so that we can get people away, moved away from the justice system and into the medical care that they need and that they deserve. And then we have some harm reduction programs where we help people who are in active addiction and who are not ready to seek any change get the sterile supplies and the drug testing strips and Narcan that they need just to stay safe and reduce communicable diseases in our communities. That's all I can think of right now, but we have probably some other programs. Again, you can see those right on our website at faceaddictionnow.org.
Thank you so much.
You know, the one thing that hit home there, no one taught me how to love someone with an addiction. There's so many assets or aspects to addiction, and we're all learning with this together. Boy, it's hard being a parent today, isn't it? Whew, my goodness gracious. With that, can we just go ahead and maybe wrap up to have a few last comments from all of you up on the panel, because we do appreciate in having your insight and your knowledge is so important. I mean, as someone who's worked in the news for 20 years, I thought I knew just about everything, and I've learned so much tonight. And that's because information is changing, and we need to continue these conversations.
I'm going to go last, so we'll start with the good Chief of Farmington Hills.
I think that one of the takeaways here is there's really no substitute for caring, loving family, watching over people, right? Being observant, paying attention to what your kids are doing. As we've said, there's so many different ways that our kids are subject to things that we never were. I never was. I mean, they grow up so fast. Social media has such an effect on everything they do. And, we can no longer just take a blind eye and just trust they're doing the right things on their phones or on their computers. We've had comments, they can buy drugs on computers. They can be approached by pedophiles on computers. They can be lured into sex trafficking on computers and phones. They can go to places that they shouldn't be. And so much of this can be at least mitigated through active parenting, guardians, loving family that's around, that are watching what your kids are doing, what your families are doing. And a lot of this is geared toward, if you're suspicious, there's probably a reason why you're suspicious, right? And let's act on those things. Let's look for those symptoms. Let's look for those signs. Let's address them before law enforcement, fire department, medic have to step in, right? And so that's kind of the thing we take out of that is certainly public safety does not have the resources to address all these issues. From mental health to drug addiction to online threats, it's just huge. And so that's really where our partnership has to come in, where we're happy to step in within our wheelhouse, but also, let's face it, at 2 o'clock in the morning, if you need help, you're not calling special services. Like, chances are you're calling 911. The police departments are likely the first ones that are going to end up on your door, but there are resources that we're aware of and we can help. So I would just ask, if you're out there and you think there's something going on with a family member, start sooner than later looking for those resources. Because whether we've heard it from the fentanyl fathers and that, when you think something's up, start acting. And that's where the community partnerships that we start developing, whether it's through our school systems, whether it's through our partnerships with FAN and things like that, that's where we want to guide you. We want to guide you there before we have a tragedy. And that's where something like this comes together, where hopefully we're explaining to you what we can help you with, but also point you in the direction of getting the help that you need.
Yeah, because parents, you have a license to snoop, right? Snoop away. Colonel?
Thank you once again. Thank you for having me here tonight. I couldn't agree more with Chief. I'm a proud parent of 4 myself. And when they got cell phones, I would tell them just hand it over. Like, it's your phone, you're paying the bill, right? So you have the right to just go through the phone. I did it. My wife did it. That's how you stay on top of things, because they are going to do things on those phones. So please be resilient, stay on top of them. Again, remind them you pay the bill. It's your phone. They're just borrowing it. And do everything you can as a parent to keep them safe. But resources are readily available to you out there. Whether it's through your local law enforcement or whether it's through the MSP. Again, in this area, it's the Metro North Post that covers both Oakland and Macomb County. We have tons of resources in the agency to assist you with that need. Last year I made community service troopers so that they can get into the schools. They're full-time. This is what they do every day, just to engage with the people that we serve. And I can't stress enough the importance of you being involved. We have got to work together. We cannot do it by ourselves. We have to work together, and it truly does take a village to raise a child. So we need everybody pouring into our youth. And don't forget them. Please sometimes give them a seat at the table. Yep, there's a lot that they don't know, but that's the best way to find out what's going on in the schools, in the community, and everything else. That's what I've learned. So make sure that you pull them or have them a seat at the table so that you can take the time out to listen to them, so you can truly find out what's going on in the community and within their lives, so we don't have tragic situations occurring. Again, thank you for having me, and again, I commend you for being here this evening. Thank you.
Pretty much everything that's been said here is not a whole lot left to pick off the plate, but again, I want to thank all of you for coming out this evening and spending time and talking about this topic that is so not only affecting just our youth, but the adults as well. I know the Chief and the Colonel had talked a lot about the youth. One of the demographics that we have to be concerned about as well is the adults. Some people have been addicted addicted to different substances for several years, and it's now, how do you get them help? How do you get them off? And people get attracted to synthetic drugs for many different reasons, whether it's self-medicating, whether it's experimenting, whether it's recreation, or like I said, it all leads to addiction. One of the things that we don't want to do is be in denial. I think a lot of times, you don't want to actually face the fact that it's actually happening to a loved one or a family member, or you try and put it off, and because they're still considered, I guess, functioning somewhat normal, you think that everything is okay. Like I said, the youth are obviously a huge concern of ours, but we have adults, seniors, and seniors that have actually have issues with substance use disorder. So the education piece is huge. Keep doing what you're doing. Keep coming out to events like this. Keep voicing your concerns. And hopefully, like I said, we can attack this, one person at a time. And as Colonel said, it does take a village to raise children and raise families and to help each other. So thank you again for having us.
I'd like to thank you guys all for being here today. I'd like to thank Chief Barron for having me. All of us here, but certainly, your vision on this, Chief, your vision on these town halls, your vision with our human trafficking team is so appreciated. On behalf of the sheriff and I mean, you've been a godsend to our community, so thank you. And thank all of you all. I appreciate that. I would like to just make one little point that I didn't get a chance to touch on. I have a unique perspective because the sheriff's office runs a jail. And I see the end result of a lot of this addiction. What we've learned in law enforcement, the unfortunate truth is we are no longer housing as many criminals as we are patients. We're housing mental health patients. And that's being triggered by these synthetic opioids and these synthetic drugs. That's being contributed to by, the mental health crisis we have here. So I promise you, we're having a very difficult time with our inmate population nowadays. When you have about 50% of them identifying that they have a substance abuse problem as soon as they walk into the door, it's a real big challenge for us all. So that's why it's important for our communities, it's important for our partnerships with the social services. I can tell you, as a law enforcement professional for 30 years, I was the biggest opponent to having social workers riding along with us. I was the biggest opponent to incorporating social work. I thought we were police, we handle these problems. I could not be more wrong. I could not be more wrong. It has been the greatest thing for our agency, I'll speak for ours specifically, to have co-responders and to have social workers and have all the social sciences contribute to our successes. It's made a huge difference. The world's changed. The criminal element, if you will, has changed, and the way we police have to change. And again, I thank you all for being here. It's been an honor and a pleasure. Thank you.
And I want to thank, first of all, this panel of distinguished police chiefs who've joined me and all of you in creating this message. Certainly continue to thank our community-based organizations for the partnerships that we have, because as we stated, law enforcement cannot do this great work alone. And at this time, PG, you can start making your way to the podium. I started my remarks off by talking about I wanted to open your eyes, and I'm hoping that through our presentations from the father who lost his son due to this crisis really touched you. I'm hopeful that when you heard from the other organizations and heard their stories, the resources they have, that now you have information that you can share with your loved ones. Because like I said, many of us have individuals, friends, and family who are going through these addictions, and you just don't know it. You think of the father who lost his child would have knew it? He would have took action? Yeah, he would have. But this disease, and that's what it is, a disease, it creeps up on the families, creeps up on its victims, and as a result, we have death. The next thing I want to talk about is the fact that when you talk about a community panel like this work is not easy putting this together. A lot of hours go into putting this thing together. And it ain't the police chief doing all that work. I have to reach out to an organizer to get this done. Let me say it again. I have to reach out to an organizer. That good food y'all ate, I didn't do that. I'm too busy. I'm fighting crime. So to rely on people, one who has the patience to do this, the patience to knock on doors, go to different community events, to publicize this thing. And I know everybody knows PG. She can be emotional. I'm going to continue to work with some of her emotion. But the passion that she has for this police department, to include Farmington Hills as well, but the passion that he has for the Southfield Police Department, I can't let go unnoticed. And so I'm going to present in front of all of you an appreciation to this is the fourth town hall we've had. We talked about domestic violence. We talked about gun violence. We talked about suicide. And today we talked about this crisis of dangerous drugs. So as a result of that, with that hard work, I'm presenting PG with the Chiefs Award. This award is being presented to PG in recognition of your exceptional dedication and unwavering commitment to serving the Southfield community. Your selfless contributions have strengthened the bond between law enforcement and public safety, embodying the values of trust, unity, and service. On behalf of the Southfield Police Department, I extend my sincere gratitude and appreciation for your outstanding civic engagement. You are hereby presented the Southfield Police Department's Chiefs Award. And alongside of her doing all this great work, again, that the police chief is not doing, she has her husband, Silver Fox, who's out in the corner, along with her. Silver Fox, come, start making your way this way, please, sir. That helps as well. Their time, Silver Fox, come on up. Their time and also their money went into this as well. Yeah, the police department and sponsors, we're going to talk about those sponsors here shortly, have contributed to this. But I want to make sure that the acknowledgement, who does the hard work to put this together, is on display. I'll stand up here and take the credit for it, but it would be disingenuous if I didn't share the acknowledgement with the people who actually put the work in. Silver Fox. I'm going to do the same thing because the Silver Fox deserves to have his award read too. And this time I won't stumble over my words. Silver Fox, this award is being presented to you in recognition of your exceptional dedication and unwavering commitment to serving the Southfield community. Your selfless contributions have strengthened the bond between law enforcement and public safety, embodying the values and trust, unity, and service. On behalf of the Southfield Police Department, I extend my sincere gratitude and appreciation for your unwavering civic engagement. You are hereby presented with the Southfield Police Department's Chiefs Award. And so I'm going to ask PG to close us out and also ask PG to make sure that all of our vendors, Ronnie Da, who outstanding moderator. Give her a round of applause. But PG, if you can close it out with our vendors, make sure they're recognized as well.
I want to give a shout out to the Southfield State Rep, Jason Hoskins. Jason Hoskins made a generous donation, and he made a lot of this possible. So please give a round of applause for our State Rep, Jason Hoskins. We did this thank you list 3 times, and each and every time I didn't maybe transfer something, so his name is not on here, but this would not be possible if it was not for our State Rep, Jason Hoskins. The chief wanted me to talk about some of the people that made this possible. I start crying every time I think about how much I love my husband. We want to thank the Green Lantern Pizza, Jewish Family Service, Mr. Kebab, Southfield Domestic Violence Group, and we did have the director of that organization, Miss Margaret Hall, here. I don't know if she's still here, but that's her group, and she does the domestic violence walk every year that the police department participates in. Empowerment Social Justice, which is Empowerment Church on Southfield Road, the Chaldean American Chamber of Commerce. We have the Southfield Alpha Phi Alpha and the House Fraternity. They called and said, hey, we want to do something, and they did it. They did it big, and not only did they do it big, they came up here and they served. Cravings and Jerusalem Pizza for providing our kosher food. We want to be very sensitive to all of the people that we have coming up here. We can eat their food, but they can't eat our food. And I can't imagine having this event and we're eating and they are not eating. So Cravings and Jerusalem Pizza, thank you so much. Majestic Market, when they saw the flyer and they let us put flyers for every single police event there, they called back and talked to Officer Tim Simon and said they wanted to do something, and they did it big. Eddie V's is my favorite place, and they'll do whatever I ask them, when I ask them, however I ask them, and I love that restaurant. Cornbread Restaurant, they did the mac and cheese. They're not even open today, but he had someone to go in the restaurant and make this mac and cheese just for us, so that deserves a round of applause. Nino Savaggio on 15 and Telegraph, Soroki on 12 and Orchard Lake, Uncle Joe's right here on Evergreen, Sam's Club. Sam's Club did it real big. And I have been a Sam's member for 30 years, and they did not hesitate. They made a lot of this possible. I'm not at liberty to tell you what a person does and how much they do it, but I can tell you all of these people did it big. And then we have Huntington Bank. And if you look on your program, a lot of these names on here, they mean something to the community, to activism. I see that my friend has left, but we had supporters all the way from Royal Oak that made it possible. Miss Ronnie, can I see your magazines right there, please, or the newspapers? We got so many community contributions that we were able to run a full-page ad. In the Southfield Sun, we got the cover story and a full page on the back. We were in the Farmington Press, a full page. The Sun goes to 26,000 homes. The Farmington Press goes to 31,000 homes. It's Farmington and Farmington Hills. The Woodward Talk goes to 19,000 homes. It goes to Huntington Woods, Pleasant Ridge, Berkeley and Ferndale. The Royal Oak Review, it goes to 32,000 homes. It goes to Royal Oak and Clawson. And then the Eagle goes to 33,000 homes. It goes to Bloomfield, Birmingham, Bingham Farms, Beverly Hills, Franklin Village, and Southfield Township. So the next time we do something, we're going to add the Beacon, because the Beacon goes to West Bloomfield, Kego Harbor, Sylvan Lake, Orchard Lake, and parts of Pontiac. And anytime we do an event, you don't have to wait for me to call you. You have my phone number. You can call me and say, PG, I got a little something, something. I want to help make it happen. And whatever you give, we appreciate it, and I'll make it happen for you. And I want to recognize someone that supports our chief. She does a lot for the community. She does a lot for the department. She does a lot for our advisory board. I want my chief's executive assistant, Shandira Dawson, to stand up. She's got on that nice polka dot jacket, Miss Hope Couture. And, you know, our chief talks about community outreach. All of these law enforcement executives up here, they do everything that they can to promote unity. They take their oath to protect and serve seriously, and they want to unite the community. So is it anybody in here that don't want to be united with the community that you live in? If you want to be united, raise your hand. And that's what I'm talking about. So again, give yourselves a round of applause. And a special shout out to the man that makes this possible to be seen on YouTube, our cable director, Mr. James Hall. He does all the videotaping, he does all the editing, he makes this possible, and we really appreciate you, Jim. Officer Tim Simon and Officer Steve Hendricks, those guys keep me grounded. When I'm having a stressful moment because it looks like something is not going to go right, they make it happen. And to all the other supporting law enforcement that came here on behalf of your chief and your sheriff's department, We really appreciate you. We pray for you guys to make sure that you're safe at night.